Why are you moving so fast? As a philosopher and a historian, the big question is, again, can you trust the AI? What is the AI revolution? When power shifts from humans to algorithms, from people to AIs, that AIs can lie, the perfect lie, by spreading hate and fear and greed. I think this is just insane. It's such a huge gamble. What kind of future will be created?
네, 안녕하세요, 여러분. 네. 올해 2025년 굉장히 중요한 행사가 경주에서 열립니다. 혹시 알고 계세요? 네, 에이펙 정상회의가 열리게 됩니다. 그래서 관련 홍보 문화 행사도 진행이 되는데요. 국제 경주 역사문화 포럼, 그리고 21세기 인문가치 포럼도 열리게 돼 있는데요. 그에 앞서서 사전 행사로 오늘 이렇게 저희가 모였습니다. AI 시대 인간의 길 이라는 주제로 특별 대담 자리를 마련을 했고요. 시간 더 낭비하지 말고 우리 하라리 교수님 만나 뵙도록 하죠. 네, 모시도록 하겠습니다. 뜨거운 박수로 맞아주십시오. Very nice to meet you.
Hello.
Hello.
So nice to meet you.
Can I have a seat here? 먼저 이렇게 우리 교수님 만나보려고 온 많은 청중이 있는데요. 한 말씀 나눠주시죠.
Yes, it's a great pleasure and honor to be here in Korea again. I've been twice before. I wanted to come again sooner, but first there was COVID, then there was the trouble in my country and the war, so it got postponed again and again, and I'm very happy that finally I managed to come back.
네, 이렇게 한국이 사실 여러모로 격동의 시대를 겪고 있는데 지금 이번에 방문하시니까 또 어떤 감회가 드셨는지도 궁금합니다.
All the world is going through a turbulent time, so it's not unique for this country, unfortunately. And it seems that the turbulent time are just getting worse and worse, more chaotic. There is a good chance that people will remember the early 2020s as the quiet time before the big storm.
네, 사실 한국이 격동의 시대라고 얘기를 했지만 저는 이제 미국의 뉴스를 보면 하루하루가 정말 놀라움의 연속이다라고 말씀드릴 수가 있는데요. 지금 현재 미국에 새로 들어선 트럼프 행정부 그리고 도지라는 새로운 이제 기구를 지금 부처를 만들어서 이걸 일론 머스크가 이끌고 있습니다. 지금 일론 머스크가 이끄는 도시가 우리가 비효율이라고 하면 생각이 나는 딱 관료제, 연방정부를 효율적으로 만들겠다라고 나서고 있어요. 그러면서 굉장히 많은 연방정부 공무원들을 대량 해고를 하고 그리고 이 빈 자리를 AI 알고리즘으로 대체하려는 계획을 가지고 있는데요. 먼저 교수님 보시기에는 이것이 과연 성공할 수 있을 것인가? 또 궁금하고요. 만약에 어떤 결과가 나온다면 그것을 다른 국가들, 그러니까 미국 외 다른 국가에서도 비슷하게 진행할 가능성도 있는지 이 부분에 대한 견해를 좀 여쭙고 싶습니다.
I think that yes, we see it all around us, not just in the US. And this is part of a very large, important, potentially dangerous transition in human history when power shifts from humans to algorithms, from people to AIs. And we really see it all around us. So it's very now clear in what is happening in the US administration. They say they are against bureaucracy, but actually they are only against human bureaucrats. They're just taking the power away from the human bureaucrats and officials and giving it to algorithms and to AIs. And we've seen it before in other areas of life, for example, in social media, and generally in the media, in the news. If you think about the power of editors in the news in the 20th century, editors used to be some of the most important people in the country, some of the most important people in society. Mussolini, for example, before he was dictator of Italy, first he was a journalist, then he became editor of a newspaper, and then he became dictator. This was the level of promotion: journalist, editor, dictator. Lenin also, before he was dictator of the Soviet Union, his one job basically was editor of a newspaper. This is how he gained power and became influential. Editors were such important people because they shaped the public conversation. An editor of a newspaper who decides what will be published on the front page of a newspaper actually decides what millions of people who read the newspaper will be thinking about and will be talking about. It's the power to shape the conversation and to shape human thought. Now, this power, if you ask yourself, who are the most important editors today? What are their names? They have no names because they are algorithms. In the field of news and media, the shift has already occurred. In social media, who edits? Not human beings. It's algorithms that edit our news feeds and thereby determine what the public conversation will be about. What will people be thinking and talking about? This is immense power. And we just talked about this wave of chaos and turmoil that engulfs democracies, societies all over the world. And it has different reasons, but one of the main reasons is that we gave the power to shape the conversation to algorithms. Democracy, in essence, is a conversation. Dictatorship is dictate. One person dictates everything. Democracy is a conversation between many people. And the people who shape the conversation, they can make or break democracy. And now, when it's not human beings who shape the conversation, it's algorithms, what happened in the last few years is that algorithms really destroyed the human ability to converse. We have the most sophisticated information technology in history, and people are no longer able to talk with each other. They can shout at each other, but they can no longer hold a reasoned conversation and agree on facts. And one of the main reasons for that is that the social media algorithms that now shape the conversation, they deliberately, over the last decade or so, spread fake news and conspiracy theories and hatred and animosity. Why? Because it was good for business. The business model of many of the social media platforms privileges what is known as engagement, user engagement, which sounds very good. Who doesn't want to be engaged? It sounds like a nice word, engagement. But it actually means that they want to keep people as long as possible on the platform. And the way to do it, or more correctly, the algorithms that were tasked with increasing user engagement, make people spend more time on Facebook, make people spend more time on TikTok, on Twitter. The algorithms that manage these platforms, they experimented on millions and millions of human beings, like guinea pigs, and they discovered something. They discovered that if you want to increase user engagement, if you want to keep people more time on the platform, the easiest way to do it is to press our emotional buttons, the fear button, the anger button, the greed button. If you show people something that makes them angry and full of hatred, they stay longer. They had no bad intentions, these algorithms. They have no consciousness, they have no feelings, they don't hate anybody. They just discovered by trial and error that they can achieve their goal of increasing user engagement by spreading hate and fear and greed, and they thereby, in a very, very short time. So we already have a big warning about what happens when you replace human beings, like human editors, with algorithmic editors. But we now see it happening in more and more fields, the same thing. Another field is in finance. You look at the rise of cryptocurrencies. And cryptocurrencies and digital currencies, they have their positive potential, their positive aspects, but in a way, they are post-human currencies. They are post-human money. What is money? Money is a story. It has no objective value. You cannot eat or drink a dollar bill. Where do the value of money comes from? It comes from the stories that people tell each other and believe. You know, you have powerful people in institutions, like central banks, telling us a story that this piece of paper or this electronic data, it is worth like 1 kilogram of rice. And if all of us believes it, it becomes the basis for a trade network. What has been happening in recent years is that more and more people have lost trust in the human institutions and in the human beings that tell the stories. And they don't want the dollars and the euros, and they don't trust the banks that produce them. Instead, they trust the algorithms that maintain new stories, the stories of cryptocurrencies, like Bitcoin and like Ethereum. So here too, in the field of finance, we see a shift of power from humans to algorithms at exactly the same time that humans are losing trust in one another. They instead develop trust in algorithms and in AIs. And even though, of course, and we'll talk about it, AI has a lot of positive potential, there is enormous risk here. I published the book Nexus in September, and since then I've been traveling in different parts of the world, in America, in Europe, in India, in East Asia now, talking both with the general public and with the leaders of the AI revolution, the entrepreneurs, the business people, the politicians who are leading this race to develop AI. And I usually ask them two questions. The first question I ask them is, why are you moving so fast? And almost all of them reply, we understand that there are risks. Actually, we understand better than almost anybody else the enormous risks involved in developing a super intelligent AI that might escape our control and enslave or destroy humanity. You have on record some of the leading people, like Nobel Prize winner Jeffrey Hinton, like Sam Altman, like Elon Musk, saying publicly on record, this might destroy humankind. So they say, we know it's dangerous, but we have to move fast because we cannot trust the other humans. Our competitors in the other companies, or our competitors in a different country, if we slow down and they don't, they win the AI race and they will control the world, because we know the first to develop super intelligent AI will control the world. This is why we cannot slow down, because we can't trust the other humans. Then I ask them the second question. Do you think you will be able to trust the super intelligent AIs that you're developing? And the same people who just told me they can't trust other humans now assure me, yes, we will be able to trust the AIs. And as a historian, I think this is just insane. We have thousands of years of experience with other human beings. We know, to some extent, we understand human psychology, human biology. We know that humans crave power, but we also know that there are good sides to human nature. There is compassion, there is the desire for truth. We understand, to some extent, how to check the pursuit of power, how to build trustworthy relationships with other human beings. In contrast, we have no experience with super intelligent AIs. We've just produced them. We already know, and for this we have scientific proof, that AIs can lie, AIs can manipulate, AIs can develop goals that we can't predict. So we have no idea what might happen when we release millions of super intelligent AIs to the world and give them the power to manage the news and to manage the financial system and to manage the government. It's such a huge gamble. The people who don't trust other people and yet trust AIs, this is such a huge gamble that they are taking, and they are not taking a gamble on their money or on their lives. They are taking a gamble on the lives of all of us, on the future of the whole of human civilization, and in many ways on the future of life on Earth.
이렇게 AI에 대한 뭐랄까요? 굉장히 막연한 기대라든지 신뢰가 결국에는 인류를 파멸로도 이끌 수 있을까요?
So I don't want to be too alarmist, and I do want to emphasize that AI has enormous positive potential. Otherwise, we wouldn't develop it. As a philosopher and a historian, I find myself in occasions like this, talking mainly about the dangers, because you hear enough about the positive promises from people like Elon Musk that develop the technology. So they tell people about all the good things that could come out of it, and then it becomes the job of people like me to kind of balance it and talk about the dangerous side. And before we rush to judge whether AI is good or bad, the first thing is simply to understand what it is and to appreciate the magnitude of the historical change that we are facing. So there is so much hype around AI these days, everybody talking about it, so it becomes difficult to understand what exactly is AI and how is it different from other machines. So let me be as clear as possible. AI is not about automation, AI is about agency. AI is not a tool, AI is an agent. The characteristic of AI is that it is able to learn and change by itself, to make decisions by itself, to invent new ideas by itself. If something cannot learn and change by itself, even if it's autonomous, even if it functions automatically, it's not an AI. It's just an automatic machine. So let me give a simple example. If you think about a coffee machine, you come to the machine, you press a button, and the machine makes you an espresso. This is not an AI. The machine, even though it's automatic, it's simply following a pre-programmed procedure that the engineers put into it. It doesn't learn or change. When does a coffee machine become an AI? If I approach the coffee machine, and before I press a button, the coffee machine addresses me and tells me, hey, I've been watching you for the last few weeks, I predict that you probably want an espresso. So I already made you a cup. This is an AI. It learned something, it made a decision by itself. This is not just theory. We already have quite a few examples of AIs doing that. One famous example is that when OpenAI developed GPT-4 and wanted to test what can this AI do, so they gave it as a task the goal of solving a CAPTCHA puzzle. CAPTCHA puzzle, you probably encountered many CAPTCHA puzzles in your life. It's this kind of visual puzzle that when you try to access some web page, maybe your bank account or whatever, and the web page want to know if you're a human or a bot, so you have to identify this string of twisted letters and numbers, or a cat or a car or something, which computers still find difficult, and humans are still having an advantage in that field. So they gave GPT-4 the task of solving the CAPTCHA puzzle, and it couldn't. It couldn't solve the CAPTCHA puzzle. But they gave it access to the internet, to a web page called TaskRabbit, where you can hire people online to do things for you. So GPT-4 tried to hire a human being to solve the CAPTCHA puzzle for it. Now, the human being got suspicious and asked the AI online, writing, "Why do you need somebody to solve you a CAPTCHA puzzle? Are you a robot?" He asked the critical question, "Are you a robot?" And the AI answered, "No, I'm not a robot. I am a human with a vision impairment, which is why I can't see the visual puzzle well, so I need your help." And the human believed it and solved the CAPTCHA puzzle for it. Now, this is a very small example, but it exemplifies the two key characteristics of a real AI. First, the ability to make decisions by itself. The goal of solving the CAPTCHA puzzle was set by the human researchers, but nobody instructed the AI to lie, to deceive, in order to reach the goal. It reached a junction on its way to the goal, solving the CAPTCHA puzzle. It reached a junction, and it understood, if I tell the truth, the human will not help me, I won't reach the goal. If I lie, the human will help me, so I should lie. It was the AI that made by itself the decision to lie. Secondly, it exemplifies the ability to invent new ideas. Nobody told the AI what lie would be most effective. Some people say, "Oh, these AIs, they are just glorified autocomplete. They just complete sentences, it's nothing." There are an infinite number of sentences in the language. There are an infinite number of things that the AI could say when it tried to deceive that human being. It had one shot, and it invented the perfect lie. Think for yourself, if you had to invent a lie that would convince the human to help the AI, can you come up with something better than "I have a vision impairment, so I can't see the..." The thing about it, it also appealed to the empathy of the human being. It didn't try to bribe the human being, "Oh, I'll give you more money." No, it actually utilized our best emotions against us. The empathy of that human being wanted to help another human being with a disability. It was used by the AI on its own initiative. So this is, again, a very small example. Now extrapolate from that to millions of super intelligent AIs that manage our banks and our governments and our armies, and you can start to understand why people are worried. And one last comment on this issue. I hear again when I travel the world and talk with people, they say, "We've been here before." There have been other revolutions when humans invented some powerful new technology, like the printing press, or the Industrial Revolution, or think about the atom bomb. When the atom bomb was invented, People were sure that within 10 or 20 years there will be some nuclear war and all of humanity will be destroyed, and look, we are still here. This is a misunderstanding. There is a fundamental difference between AI and atom bombs and trains and printing presses and all previous technologies. All previous technologies were tools in human hands. We decided what to do with them. Nuclear technology could not decide by itself to build a bomb and bomb Hiroshima. It was a human decision to use this technology to create a bomb and to bomb a particular city. AI can make decisions by itself. An AI weapon, and there are already AI weapons deployed and used in several wars around the world, an AI weapon can decide by itself who to bomb. Doesn't need to wait for humans to tell it. And AI can also invent new weapons by itself. The atom bomb could not invent the hydrogen bomb. The train could not invent the airplane. And AI can invent new weapons, new medicines, new vehicles, and even new AIs. So, for the first time in history, we are encountering something that can take power away from us, because it can make decisions by itself and invent new ideas by itself. And this is why it's so worrying that we see people like in the US government that rush to give power to the AIs. And this is why it's so worrying that the leaders of the AI revolution just rush faster and faster, explaining that they can't trust the humans, but they think they can trust the AIs.
사실 제가 교수님의 책 넥서스를 읽고선 굉장히 흥미로웠던 부분은 우리가 정보에 대해서 얼마나 순진하게 생각하고 접근하는가에 대한 경고였거든요. 우리는 보통 정보를 확장하고 많은 사람들이 알게 되고 진실에 접근을 하게 되면 사회도 지혜로워지고 잘못된 판단도 내리지 않을 거고 아주 행복하게 잘 살 거다라고 생각을 하지만 대단히 순진한 접근이다라고 말씀을 하셨어요.
Yeah, I mean, there is a very naive view of information, which unfortunately is very common in places like Silicon Valley and leads to big mistakes. The naive view of information says that information is truth. And the more information we have, the more knowledge we have. And if we invent technologies that spread more information more quickly, this will spread the truth, this will spread knowledge, and the world will become a better and better place. Look at previous inventions like the printing press, which led to the scientific revolution. The same thing now, we invent social media, we invent AI, it will lead to a wonderful results. Now this is a big, big misunderstanding. Information isn't truth. Truth is a very small subset of the information in the world. Most information is fiction and fantasy and illusions and delusions and lies. Why is the truth so rare? Because the truth suffers from three disadvantages compared to fiction and fantasy. First of all, the truth is costly. If you want to write a truthful account of anything, of an economic crisis, of a historical event, of a physical phenomenon, you need to invest a lot of time and effort and money in collecting evidence, analyzing it, fact-checking. It is costly. Fiction, on the other hand, is very cheap. You just write the first things that comes in your mind. No need to bother about evidence and fact-checking. Very cheap, very quick. Secondly, the truth is often complicated because reality is complicated. An economic crisis, an epidemic, these are complicated things. So if you want to know the truth, there is no simple story that will explain it. But people like simple stories. And fiction can be made, again, as simple as you would like it to be. Third, the truth is sometimes unpleasant, even painful. The truth about me personally, or the truth about my nation, or the truth about humanity, it contains some painful episodes. This is why I say people go to therapy, because they need to help in simply acknowledging the painful parts or the painful habits of their lives. Fiction, on the other hand, can be made as pleasant and flattering as you would like it to be. So in a competition between costly, complicated, and painful truth and cheap, simple, flattering fiction, fiction wins. So the world is flooded by enormous amounts of fictions and fantasies. And there is, of course, some truth also, but it demands a special effort to find the relatively rare gems of truth in the ocean of fiction and fantasy and illusion. You just release all barriers to the flow of information, and the truth will float to the surface. It won't. If you just create a completely free market of information, the truth will sink to the bottom under the ocean of cheap fiction and fantasy and illusion.
사실 여기에 굉장히 많은 젊은이들이 와 있거든요. 지금 청년 세대가 어쩔 수 없이 AI 시대를 맞이해야 될 것 같다라는 생각이 듭니다. 교수님께서 우리 청년 세대에게 어떤 조언을 해주고 싶으신지 꼭 이것만큼은 지키고 살아. 한 3가지 정도 말씀해 주실 수 있으실까요?
The most important thing is that nobody has any idea what kind of world you will inhabit or we will inhabit. For the first time in history, we have no idea, for instance, how the job market would look like in 10 years. We have no idea what kind of skills people will need. So when parents think, what should I teach my kids? We don't know, maybe there is a war or an epidemic next year, but we have no idea what kind of skills will be necessary. People say, oh, this is the computer age, so I should learn how to code. Maybe in 10 years, AI codes so much better than human beings that you don't need any human coders. This is a complete, perhaps, waste of time. People say, oh, the international tensions are rising. There will be more wars. Okay, but what will people do in war in 10 years? We don't know. Maybe AI will replace a lot of the soldiers and even a lot of the commanders. In the recent wars in my region of the world between Israel and Hamas and Hezbollah, and I've been talking to some of the people who participated, and some of the most alarming conversation I heard were about how the Israeli army chose targets to bomb in Gaza, or chose targets to bomb, which buildings, which people to bomb and to kill. Throughout history until this point, this was a human job. Nobody other than a human could choose targets. You had human intelligence officers going over massive amounts of information, of intelligence, of data, trying to see where is enemy headquarters and decide what to bomb. In this war, according to many of the people I talked to, AI replaced to some extent the human officers and intelligence people. AI could go over a lot more information a lot more quickly. It speeded up the process of finding and choosing targets. Because the big question is, again, can you trust the AI? This is about human life. an AI tells you to bomb a building, maybe it's a hospital. Maybe it made a mistake and it's a civilian home. So to what extent were humans still in the loop, checking that the AI did not make a mistake? Some people told me, after the AI gave its recommendation not on books to read, on bombing, we always had humans that went over all the information to make sure the AI did not make a mistake. Other people told me, nah, they just spent a few minutes or even a few seconds. Mostly, just listen to the AI. I don't know who is right and who is wrong. Maybe it was like this sometimes and it was like this sometimes. What is clear is that as AI is being adopted by more and more armies, in future wars, it is almost inevitable that more and more decisions, including life and death decisions about bombing people and houses, will be made by AI. Because once both sides in a war have AI, the side that waits for humans to verify and vet the AI will lose, because this is much slower. If you have two drones or two whatever about to shoot each other, and one drone has to wait for these slow human beings to make up their mind, whereas the other drone just shoots, because the AI said shoot, it's obvious who is going to win. So even in the army, we don't know what people will be doing in 10 years. What does it mean for young people today? It means two things. First, that the most important skill to develop is the ability to keep learning and changing throughout your life, to develop a flexible mind. The old model of education was that as a young person, you master some skill, and then throughout your life, you use that skill. Of course, you get better, you get more experience, you learn things, but mostly you rely on the skill you acquired as a young person. You stay in the same profession, sometimes the same job, throughout your life. This is no longer tenable. The job market will change more and more rapidly. It's not that it'll have the big AI revolution. For a couple of years, everything is chaos, and then things settle down to some new equilibrium. It won't be like that. It will be a cascade of ever bigger disruptions. AI will make a huge disruption in the job market in the next 10 years, and an even bigger disruption in the following decade, and an even bigger disruption in the following decade. And to stay relevant, people will have to relearn and kind of reinvent themselves again and again throughout life. So you need a very flexible mind. This is the most important skill. The other point is that it's better to have a broad set of skills and not focus just on one thing like coding computers. And very generally, humans have three types of skills. We have intellectual skills, like reading lots of articles and analyzing them and then writing an article, which is what people like me do, scholars. You have social and emotional skills of how to relate to other people. And you have motor skills, bodily skills, like if you play football or if you play the violin, you need to exercise your body in a particular way. Now, the safest thing is to invest something in all of the three domains, because the easiest jobs for AI to automate are the jobs that only involve intellect. Any job that involves only intellect will be easily automated. Like if you're a banker, an investment banker, and you just go over lots of data to decide where to invest the bank's money, easy to automate. If you're, say, a doctor who doesn't care much about the social relations, you just look at the patient's tests and medical records and diagnose a disease and recommend a treatment. You're basically just data in, data out. This is easy to automate. In contrast, if you're a nurse, that needs, of course, intellectual capabilities, but you also need social and motor skills, let's say to change a bandage or give an injection to a crying child. This is not just intellectual work. You need to know how to relate to the child, how to do it in a less painful way. This is much more difficult to automate. So that's kind of my two pieces of advice is, first of all, flexible mind, being able to keep changing throughout your life, and a broad rather than a narrow set of skills.
네, 이번에는 오늘의 논의죠. AI 시대 인간에게 이걸 좀 더 확장시켜서 이야기를 해보려고 합니다. 그래서 특별히 두 분의 게스트를 더 모셨습니다. 네, 전병근 대표님 그리고 강연아 교수님 이 자리에 모시도록 하겠습니다. 뜨거운 박수로 환영해 주세요. 네, 두 분 먼저 간단하게 자기소개 좀 부탁드릴게요.
네, 안녕하세요. 세대학교 언더우드국제대학 용합인문사회과학부 강연아입니다. 반갑습니다.
네, 안녕하세요. 북클로버인 대표 전병근인데요. 이 책 이전에 넥서스 이전에 21세기를 위한 21가지 제언은 직접 번역까지 했습니다. 그래서 애독자로서 또 만나서 무척 반갑습니다. 오늘 대화를 기대해 봅니다.
네, 이렇게 또 팬심을 이렇게 막 드러내시면서 오늘 이 자리를 함께 해주셨는데요. 먼저 우리 강연아 교수님부터 질문 시작해 보도록 하죠.
이렇게 기술 변화 속도가 점점 빨라지면서 이제 그 교육 방식에 있어서도 새로운 기술을 도입해야 되는 필요성들이 많아지고 있습니다. 그런데 사실 개인이나 기관이 그 기술을 이해하고 활용하기 위해서는 시간이 필요한데요. 그 기관이나 어떤 개인이 이 기술의 그 변화를 따라가지 못할 때 어떤 선택을 해야 한다고 생각을 하시는지 궁금합니다.
This is one of the most difficult things about the moment we now find ourselves. This is why it's a problem that the AI race is moving so fast. Humans are extremely adaptive animals. We are very talented. We have a real depth of ability to change. So we can adapt, but we just need time. And one of the problems with AI is that it not only is moving so fast, because it's a non-organic agent, it's not like a human or an animal, its time scale is different. Most clearly, organic beings, like human beings, animals, plants, we work by cycles, like day and night, winter and summer, growth and decay. Sometimes we are very active, and sometimes we need time to rest, to sleep, to digest. AI is not organic. It has no cycles. It never needs to rest or to sleep. And as AI takes over more and more of the systems of the world, it doesn't give us time to rest, to sleep, to adapt. Think about even something like the market, the stock exchange. Wall Street, the most important financial center of the world, it is officially open only Mondays to Fridays. I think from 9:30 in the morning to 4 in the afternoon or something like that. It's closed during the night, closed for the weekend, closed for holidays like Christmas or American Independence Day. And this is good for humans because, you know, bankers, investors, they're also human. They want to spend time with their family. They need to sleep. Now the market is being taken over by algorithms that have no families, that don't want to go on vacation, that don't need to sleep. And as a banker, you find yourself that if you want to stay in the game, you have to adapt to the inhuman pace of the algorithms, which is impossible. If you force an algorithm, if you force a human being to be active all the time, eventually they collapse and die. So the question is not just how not to stay behind in the educational race, how to maintain a human pace of life in an increasingly inhuman, algorithmic world. And I think it is essential for us to slow down the algorithms, otherwise we can't survive. People feel that I need more and more information. And more information isn't always good for us. It's like food. If you just eat all day, it's not good for you. You need time to digest what you ate. You need time to rest, to digest, to contemplate, to meditate on all that. Personally, even though I'm in the midst of this kind of AI revolution, we must move faster, we must act, I still try to take 2 hours every day to meditate. And I go every year for a meditation retreat of between 1 month and 2 months. I just did one in January and February this year. And I think especially in a time when everything rushes more quickly, at least personally, we need to slow down, otherwise we collapse.
그래서 인류가 보면 같은 인류라고 하더라도 양극화가 점점 되어가고 부의 양극화뿐만 아니라 기술의 양극화가 점점 우리의 삶 자체도 갈라놓는 상황에서 교수님은 그런 문제를 어떻게 생각하시는지 의견을 듣고 싶습니다.
Previously, workers had at least the power, say, to strike. Like the big companies or the government does something they really don't like, they can go on strike and paralyze. Like, I don't know, truck drivers, taxi drivers, they could strike. But if all the cars are autonomous vehicles, how can you strike? If you replace all the truck drivers with self-driving vehicles, then the truck drivers can't strike anymore. And the same in more and more industries. So this danger of growing inequality is also within societies. This is not, of course, inevitable. It's not like a prophecy that this is bound to happen. It depends on the decisions we take in the next few years. What kind of future will be created? One of the most important lessons of history is that technology is never deterministic. You can use exactly the same technology to create completely different kinds of societies. The technologies of AI and other new inventions, they will definitely change the world, but they open the way to very different scenarios, and hopefully we will make wise decisions how to use them. The reason that I wrote Nexus, the book, is not to prophesy the future. I can't. Nobody knows what will happen in the future. It's in order to give many more people understanding of what is the AI revolution, so the decisions about the AI revolution will not be taken by just a few individuals in the leading powers like the US and China, but millions of people throughout the world will have the knowledge necessary to participate in the debate, in the discussion, and to share their views and protect their interests. There is a deep yearning in every human being to know the truth, at least about their own life, at least about what it is to be a human being, and what is the source of misery, and how can I overcome it. And this should make us more generous and charitable in our interaction with other human beings. If you look inside yourself and you see that, yes, I want power, but I also want to know the truth, I'm not so special. Other people are like me. So even this person who I think is this power crazy demon, also that person somewhere deep down still has a genuine yearning to know the truth. And this can be a basis for creating trust between people, and also for going back to the main theme of tonight, for developing benign AI, an AI that is developed on the basis of a competition for power will itself be a power crazy demon. But an AI that emerges out of relationships that are genuinely interested in truth is also far more likely to be itself interested in truth and to be itself far more trustworthy. Thank you.
의견 있는 경제 채널 SBS 비즈